Hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554637828, and I'm talking about Joe Rogan's guest 3 days ago. I think it was Chris D'Elia, and this was an entertaining podcast for me. Honestly, I learned so many things that I had to sometimes just stop and look up. For example, apparently, Chris D'Elia, I think he was on a show called Whitney or Whitley. I know it's a female comedian. She had her own show, and I think this guy was her boyfriend. Apparently, he's been on Joe Rogan. At least it's like his third time. He was on there in 2014, 2017. Just looked up and I saw that. He was, well, some of the interesting things, I don't know if they're going to be interesting to you. Apparently, Black Mirror started back up. Joe Rogan mentioned that, and I was like, wow, I gotta go see that episode. I didn't know, I didn't remember. So, if you didn't know, if you were looking, it's back on. They have new episodes apparently. Apparently, Joe Rogan had a dog at one point that killed another one of his dogs because it was jealous of it. It was the kind of dog that wanted his sole attention. It was a rescue dog. They were talking about rescue dogs, and Chris D'Elia apparently wasn't a rescue dog, but he was on a poorer side of the neighborhood in California, and he saw a dog that seemed like it needed help, and he picked it up, and he took the dog, like the Jeffersons, moving on up, or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and apparently the dog keeps trying to get away. The dog keeps trying to get away. And Joe Rogan was like, didn't you just say let him go? And he was like, yeah, but my girlfriend was like, we can't do that. And apparently he lives next to a very famous athlete who he does not want to name for fear that people will know where he lives. And anyway, his dog keeps sliding underneath those people's gates. Under the fence to get away from him, and he has no other choice but to apparently climb into their yard and retrieve the dog. Of course, the person is never there, he says, because they have however many houses all over the place, but he's pretty sure he's on their surveillance cameras. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then he and Joe went into storytelling about having almost defecated on themselves at different points. Joe said that, it had to have happened to him at least half a dozen times, if not a dozen times. He's pretty sure of that. He even had an accident apparently in the shower at one point, and he's had to spend about half an hour cleaning it out. The guy was saying that he never actually ended up doing it in his pants, but he was recounting a story where he had his pants he was pre-removing it, let's say, as he was getting back into his hotel and his hotel room, and everything seemed to be going perfectly. The elevator came as soon as he pressed the door, because he was running in the street. And apparently he had bought I can't remember what it was, and he thought that was the reason why he had that attack, but those things don't happen that quickly. While you're eating it, no. Anyway, the elevator comes, boom, and he's like praying to God that it comes, and there's another follow through of that, him praying to God. That was funny later on. The elevator comes, he's taking off his pants, in the elevator, he has it unzipped, he's running down the hallway, he opens the door easy, he gets to the toilet and he's pulling off his pants and turning around, and apparently that turn was too much for him, and unfortunately he shot some shots at the wall, and he was relieved that at least his pants were not dirty, but he had to do some cleanup after that. That was kind of funny. But what started it off, I think, is that he saw a video of Joe Rogan and friends hunting, and they were talking about, one of the guys was talking about the fact that he was about to defecate in his pants, and he couldn't hold it in, and they were whispering. He was whispering as he was telling this story. And I don't know how they caught it on video, but they caught it on video. Them in their, fluorescent vests, whispering in the forest. And the guy's talking about how he had to go in the back, and he went to his wife and he said, for the love of, for the love of their marriage, that the wife should not go in the back and take a look at what he had to do. So the wife was like, you can't tell me not to go. So she went, and she saw the what it was, and he said, I just heard a howl, like, oh my God. And his father-in-law went running, and his wife told his father-in-law, Dad, stay back, stay away. it was pretty funny. And that was hilarious. But I guess Joe is, beyond those stories, which, oh my God, there was even a story about how Chris D'Elia was on his way to meet Eminem. Apparently he was listening to Eminem on the radio, and then he decided to imitate Eminem and post the video. So he had some, and the daddy don't, a gruff voice. You're using too much napkins, and he needed his napkins. It was, I don't know, it wasn't as funny as, I'm not doing it justice. But apparently, after weeks and months, apparently Black Twitter thought it was hilarious and blew it up. And then eventually Eminem saw it, and Eminem, I think after he commented on it on Twitter. And this is some of the stuff that I did not know. I did not know, for example, that the rapper Logic was biracial. And furthermore, I did not know that there was a rapper called Logic. So I learned two things today. Anyway, apparently he was able, because of him mocking Eminem, which Eminem found to be funny, he got to be in a video pretending to be Eminem. And it was a hilarious video, honestly. Logic is a pretty good rapper, and Eminem, as always, is a pretty good rapper. I think it's about the speed. I guess they have similar styles. I don't know in terms of that. I saw some Logic's other videos. Interesting. Anyway, there's a story with Chris D'Elia. He's on the way to meet Eminem. And what happens is, again, he has another to-go moment. Speaking of that, I don't remember having too many of those. I don't know what these guys are eating. But in his haste to make sure that he didn't have an accident, he ended up having to go on somebody's lawn. And he had to use some Kleenex, and then he left, and Eminem never knew that that's what happened on his way to meet him. So these guys, crazy guys. Now, I also learned that, yes, Joe Rogan is having everybody who comes on his podcast tested. I don't know the logistics of it, but apparently Joe Rogan himself, he had just got tested recently, and 2 days before that test, he'd gotten tested again, and the doctor who tested Chris D'Elia, now it takes a couple of days to get tested, so I don't know, like I said, the logistics of these tests, because these are 1 day or several hour tests. They haven't come out yet as far as I know. So but anyway, apparently there's a big doctor, strapping, muscular, handsome doctor that is taking people's tests, and Joe is, and that's what, I don't know if he was joking about Donnell Rawlings not having been tested and he was okay, but Joe's taking a lot of tests, and he's also taking his mega doses of vitamin C, Now, I had looked these things up a while ago, and I honestly had could have sworn that it was vitamin C megadoses that hardened your arteries. But apparently, no, it's just going to make you sick, and as in, it can potentially make you nauseous and a couple other unpleasant side effects. But apparently, it's not going to be too harmful. But there's one of those vitamins. If you go hog wild on that stuff, I remember it's going to harden your arteries. And I think it's Linus Pauling is a Nobel laureate who came up with this stuff however many years ago. It's been disproven, to my understanding, many times. Actually, I just did watch a study that said that it didn't help anybody. As a matter of fact, it was the people in the placebo group, the people who didn't get anything, that actually recovered faster than anybody else. So yeah, it doesn't help you to have these mega doses of stuff. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of if you have a house, right? And yes, every once in a while your house needs repairs. And you think to yourself, well, if I just go to the hardware and I get several times the amount of stuff it would ever need to repair my house is going to be perfect. It's going to be great. Or if I put twice as much oil in my car, it's going to run great. If I put twice as much gas, if I, put twice as much brake fluid, that's ridiculous. It is ridiculous to assume that because something is good, too much of it is better. But, I say Joe, really, I take him at his word that he's not into conspiracies anymore, but sometimes, I don't know. But, he likes what he likes. So he doesn't really have time. And that's another word. People don't have time, no. They're not interested in finding the truth sometimes. They believe what they believe. And they're not really going to go down the road of... and I think Joe made a joke. He was like, yeah, so Obama endorsed Biden. So now everything's perfect. It's good. I'm happy. And of course, that was kind of silly. And they were talking about, for a moment there, they were talking about the fact that I guess Trump Jr. had posted a link, reposted something on Twitter about Biden. And he's like, a browser with 17 tabs open. Half of them he doesn't remember what they are, and there's music playing and he doesn't know which one it is that has the music playing. And it was funny. It was funny when Joe recounted it. But all in all, Chris D'Elia made Joe Rogan laugh, and Joe Rogan made Chris D'Elia laugh, and I liked it. I liked this episode. I like Chris D'Elia. Yeah. And I guess, the thing about one last thing, and I don't know that it's pertinent to be last, but I remember Joe Rogan was saying how he had these rescue dogs, and he had one particular dog that, and I remember why I like this story. Apparently the dog was really mangy when he got it. But because the dog was so used, I suppose, to life being hard, it was always eating, overeating. And it was even sneaky. It was apparently getting underneath his fence to go and bust up the neighbor's garbage and eat out of the neighbor's garbage and come back into his yard without him knowing that it ever went over there. It was only when the neighbor told him that, hey, your dog is scattering all my garbage all over the place. And he's like, my dog? But she's in here. And he's like, yeah, she sneaks back in, he told him. The neighbor told him. And it's like, wow. So they had to make sure that the fence was, well below the surface of the ground so that she couldn't do that anymore. That was hilarious. And apparently she was eating, the cat's food and maybe other dog's food. And she was just huge stomach, he was saying. Anyway, guys. You can wish me luck. You can like or unlike, you can comment, subscribe, and or share. Peace.